This video presents declassified and licensed material of the Global Institute of Logic and Cybernetics.
Look at this massive, chaotic stream of digital data. Global networks are currently flooded with unstructured information, legal texts, multilingual documents, and research notes, all colliding in the dark. When current systems, like monolithic large language models, process this information without strict mathematical discipline, they treat the data as inert storage. In that environment, truth and authority simply dissolve into noise. This creates a condition known as ungoverned churn. Storing petabytes of text does not yield insight. If you allow recursive AI refinement to continue without boundaries, the result is corpus collapse. Intelligence operating without cryptographic accountability or a verifiable history introduces an unmanageable failure point into the command chain. To achieve operational dominance, we must abandon the illusion that a single omniscient parser can handle all data correctly. We require a system governed by explicit execution laws. Enter Project CodexStation. This is a theorem-governed research operating system built to systematically tame data chaos. It strips away opaque statistical guessing and replaces it with a mathematically sealed cryptographic execution architecture. Every artifact follows a mandatory sequence: ingested, routed, kernelized, braided, and anchored. At the routing triage, CodexStation eliminates single parsers, dispatching data to kernels tuned for materials like legal citations. Specialized plurality restricts ambiguity and increases formal tractability. But isolated processing has limits. Notice how these processed documents are injected into this massive three-dimensional relational graph, known as the semantic braid. A single processed data point floating alone has little context. It only achieves true corpus intelligence when it structurally tethers to this global semantic fabric. Intelligence requires absolute accountability. In this system, no processed result is considered lawful unless it is fully traceable. To enforce this, the execution registry generates a stable, content-derived quantum anchor for every execution. This locks the document's exact state and metadata into a cryptographic seal. The system enforces temporal law. When an artifact is updated, the new version must stack on top of the old one, rather than overwriting it. By stacking revisions, the timeline remains reconstructible. This prevents the silent destruction of historical facts. Fusing this exact trace memory with cryptographic anchoring yields absolute provenance integrity. A flat, vulnerable database becomes a tamper-proof historical record. Operating at scale introduces the challenge of multi-domain governance, managing classified or sovereign data across disparate, securely gated trust boundaries. This dashboard illustrates auditable secrecy. Watch how sensitive content is blacked out, while execution trace and provenance metadata remain brightly illuminated. By explicitly gating boundaries, a sealed document's content stays hidden from unauthorized users, but its history remains perfectly auditable to authorized overseers. Beyond data security, the system accounts for the physical limits of computation. This introduces resource law and the reality of bounded economics. CodexStation actively governs finite resources, like compute time and human review bandwidth. It applies explicit scheduling criteria to prevent invisible biases or the silent starvation of lower priority data queues. A knowledge system is not truly secure or closed unless its resource prioritization and oversight mechanisms are explicitly visible and mathematically governed. When we zoom out to the macro scale, the reality is that a civilization is never confined to a single isolated database. This requires federation law, the strict ability for allied states, agencies, or even planetary stations to interoperate across different nodes without losing data integrity. When these federated systems disagree, they use provenance stacking. Instead of erasing the conflict, they form a typed semantic tether that categorizes the exact mathematical nature of their disagreement, generating true intercorpus consensus. Theorem 21 establishes a concrete standard. Systems that lack a traceable lineage and content anchoring no longer meet the requirements for sovereign intelligence operations. CodexStation serves as a civilizational primitive, the definitive mathematical substrate required to execute a governed digital future.